Welcome back, Truth Seeker. I wanted to share a story from my own life from a couple days ago. And some of you who follow this channel very well, you might recall when I first moved out here to Yakima, Washington. It was shortly after I moved into this house. I uploaded a video. I said, I got to stop being so mean to the Trump supporters. Because I said, today I met a Trump supporter, and they were a genuinely good person. And at that point in 2018, that was the first person I had met in my own life that seemed like a decent person to me that supported Trump. And I'd met plenty of people that support Trump, and I'm not saying they were all horrible people or anything like that, but I'm just saying, like, this person stood out as, like, a good person. And I thought, and the reason I knew they were a big Trump supporter is because I could see their vehicle, which was all decked out in Trump stickers. And, yeah, just when I first met them, they came out here to do a service for the house, and they told me it was going to cost $15 after they were done. And I said, I was in a bad financial spot at the time, but I said, I got to pay you more than $15. I said, you came out here, you did such a good job. I said, how do you live on $15? And I gave them $50, and they appreciated that. And I even did that even though I saw the Trump stickers, because it was the only thing that I could possibly say about this person. And for people who are listening here, realize I'm not a Republican or Democrat. I can't stand the political process. That's a whole nother story. But anyway, just to give you some background. So I met this person when I first moved out here. They work on the landscaping, repair things. And they installed the sprinkler system for this house. And then when there was a problem, they came out and took care of it real fast. And anytime there's anything, they're just here in a jiffy. I mean, they have good customer service. But anyway, he comes out every year to blow out the sprinklers because it gets cold here. And if you don't blow out your sprinklers in the winter, your lines will freeze and they'll break, and then you'll have a water leak. So he does that for, the people who call for that service. And I probably talk to him 2 or 3 times a year. There's probably 3 times a year that I've seen him, and every time he's just a good guy. And when I saw him today, he's like, last time I saw him, I asked him how his business was doing with the virus stuff, and he said it was all right. But then this time he told me his business has picked way up, and he's been so busy lately, and it's better than ever right now. And it's funny, Johnny the Stash, who calls into the radio show, the program all the time. I know he works in landscaping, and he was saying his business has been really great this year once things open back up too. But anyway, he was talking all about his business and how it's doing fine even with the virus. And he said he had 2 employees a few weeks back that tested positive, so they were out for some days, and then they came back once their test was fine. And he said it wasn't really a big deal. And I said, I know, all this stuff's so overblown. And he's like, yeah, it's just so obvious that it's overblown. And so I was talking to him about it for a while, and I asked him if he'd heard of Event 201. And he said, no, I haven't heard of Event 201. What's that? And then I told him about the coronavirus outbreak simulation, October 18th, 2019, put on by the World Economic Forum, Johns Hopkins, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, companies like Johnson & Johnson, etc. Again, for people who don't know, there was a coronavirus outbreak simulation put on by these big organizations that have a lot to do with health and vaccinations and medical practice. And anyway, that simulation was the same day that the military World Games began in Wuhan, China. So I'm telling this to him. He's like, whoa, that is crazy. He's like, no, I got to look into that. I haven't heard anything about that. I said, I know. I told him about how we went down there in March earlier this year in front of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and eventually we got Cairo 7 to come out and talk to us. Not the first time, but the second time we went back out there to raise awareness about this simulation and how the pandemic was declared shortly after that, and how come there's no discussion about this. I mean, one of the main sponsors of Event 201, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, coronavirus shows up in their back door, Seattle. So I was talking to this man about all these things he's all into. He's like, okay, I got to look that up. Oh, that's interesting. And then I said, well, what else is interesting after I established, the Event 201 and the military games and talking to him for a bit? I said, the other thing that's interesting is just that they called it Event 201. And then I told him about the history of the Jesuits and 201. And I didn't even tell him anything about gematria, but I even talked about like Pope Francis, the first Jesuit Pope, the first to live in Suite 201, pointed out how all these big names, names that he recognizes, how they all went to Jesuit schools. And then he started asking more about the Jesuit schools and how do you get into a Jesuit school. So I explained to him that essentially anyone can go to a Jesuit school gets accepted and can afford the tuition. But again, who the Jesuits are and what they've been historically. So once I tell him this list of, Jesuits, from Anthony Fauci to Redfield at the CDC to Cuomo, the governor you always see from New York on the national TV, to Gavin Newsom, the first governor to lock down his state. Just telling about that list, he was like, oh, wow. And then I said, and realize, I noticed that this time when he's doing the neighborhood, business must be good, because he got this fancy paint job on the back of his window on his truck of a picture of Donald Trump, like giving a thumbs up. So his car is even more decked out now in Donald Trump stuff than it ever has been. And after I was talking about the list of Jesuits, and I said, you want to know one more person who's on that Jesuit list? He's like, who's that? I said, Donald Trump. And what was crazy is he was engaged the whole time. And we were probably talking for about 10, 15 minutes up to this point. Totally engaged, asking questions into it. When I told him that Donald Trump was also on this Jesuit list, what happened is, because we're outside talking, he took a step backwards, kind of turned his body away from me, and then reached for his back pocket. And then he pulled out his phone, and he just started looking at his phone. And there wasn't anything going on his phone. But then I just said, hey, man, it's good talking to you. I know you got to get back to work. And he's like, oh, all right, man, all right. But he just totally shut down. From totally engaged and interested and like, oh, okay, I got to look. To when he found out that Donald Trump was part of this Jesuit thing, then it was just total shutdown. Step back, turn away, reach for the back pocket, look at the phone. It was just like, like a, what do you call that? Like a behavioral tick, like. But it was just, you just saw it. It was just so rapid. And he didn't become rude or angry, but he just shut down. He became totally disengaged from the conversation. And that's exactly what goes on with so many people when it comes to the reality of this world. They've already bought in. They believe so much, whether it's in their football team or whatever sports team or their politician or their political party or their country, their flag. They're just so bought in already. You just see it. It's happened to so many Americans from a young age. When I started to realize that people were really passionate about their beliefs, wasn't high school, just getting into some debates about subjects. Because I was always cool to talk about things, but I realized you talk to some people about certain things, man, they get heated and angry and like want to fight over it. So it's like, whoa, I'm just making a point. You're tripping out here. But it's because, and I realized the difference between me and most people. I started to think about, okay, if we're all products of our environment mostly, I grew up with a father who didn't really care too much about politics or have anything great to say about the nation or government. But his whole thing was, just do your best in this world, work hard, be nice to people, live by the golden rule, try not to make waves, which I don't even always know is right, but that was kind of his thought. Be like a turtle and just, stay out of the way of danger. But anyway, I came from a dad who didn't instill in me you're going to be a flag-waving American. So I didn't get anything like that from my dad. And then from my mom, she was always talking about things like how, the U.S. was involved in all these wars and deceit around the world and using their military to pick on poor nations and exploit them. And, she'd always, so from my mom, she was like pointing out always the things that were negative about America that really most people should see. I mean, we do have military bases all over the world. Why are we the world police? Why does there need to be a world police? We're a world empire is what we are. And here the propaganda campaign is that we're policing the world, keeping everybody safe. That is not what's going on. But anyway, it's that, I came from this background where I was never taught to buy in or believe so much in anything. I was given, kind of like a carefree attitude on my dad's side, and then from my mom's side, like a negative perspective in some ways, some things about this nation. She was always focused on how bad the military is and all the horrific things that have been done with our military over the years. I'm not exactly sure where she picked up on that from now that I think about it. I should find that out from her, but I'm sure it was just from growing up in the era she did. She's out here on the West Coast. 70s, so hippie movement, this type of thing, anti-military after Vietnam. But anyway, I didn't grow up with some of the things that I think a lot of people do, because a lot of people, they are flag wavers and, military, and they just believe so much in their country and they don't question their country. And ultimately you see that's not what's better for society. To not be questioning and just believing fully, it's not good. Because look at what's been going on. We've been getting pushed further and further to the cliff all these decades. You know, in the last 30 some years, 40, getting close to 40 years, what's happened in this country? Most of America's wealth has been siphoned off to the very top classes, and now there's a whole group of have-nots fighting over a little bit, while there's a super class of people that have more resources than everybody. And it wasn't like that 30 or 40 years ago. Again, it's these policies that they've slowly been using against us to build this all-powerful class. You know, they've shifted all the tax burdens and all the government fees mostly to everybody else, and we've just been here fighting over the same old topics each year that never change, that they use as the same carrot on a stick to get people to vote on certain parties each year. But anyway, this cognitive dissonance thing, a lot of people have it, and it's because they believe in something that maybe they shouldn't believe in. And it's not to say that you shouldn't believe in certain things. Like I always tell people, you got to believe in yourself. You know, believing in yourself means that you have the confidence to realize, like, even when things are tough, you're still going to get up the next day and take care of those tough things and overcome. I saw somebody years ago say that you should never say believe in yourself. That doesn't make any sense. But to me, it does. You know, sometimes you got to be determined and tough in this world. Otherwise, you just give up and even worse things happen. So, but, yeah, I mean, believing in, you know, spirituality, I think that can be very positive. Believing in certain religions, for some people it works out, but belief in religion creates a lot of problems. It's one of the ways that they use to divide us. 9/11 was all about stirring up the religions. World War II, all about stirring up the religions. They stir us up where they can. But, and again, it's these groups that believe in these things that ultimately they have the most conflict with the truth, because oftentimes the truth, you know, it goes against what they think. And they don't want to think that all these years they've been wrong about something. Man, I always really believed that we were the best country, like they always told us in school. They always told us how great we were, how lucky we were to be Americans, how much worse it was everywhere else. And honestly, I don't know what believing in stuff like that really is doing for people, but obviously it's something, thinking that life's greater than it actually is. I guess, you know, when I was a kid and I heard crap like that, I thought, is it really though? Is it really? Because I see all sorts of things wrong with this place. Like, why do I have to be in this classroom having my time wasted, being told things I already understand? It has no relevance to my life. But, yeah, again, cognitive dissonance. It's when the clash of beliefs hit each other. And if somebody doesn't want their bubble popped, they're not going to let their bubble be popped. They're just going to believe that whatever they need to believe to dismiss, you know, the thing that's in conflict. And that's what we see all the time. And the frustrating part is when we try to present so many people important information about what's actually going on in the world and where we're being led to. And as I say this, we've been led to the spot that I've been telling people for years that we're going to be led to. Because 20 years have gone by since I really saw the writing on the wall. Well, 9/11 really. So, a little more than 19 years. But, yeah. So, anyway, I think we've established the cognitive dissonance piece and why so many people have it. But we also see that when so many people, they don't want to accept the truth, they also become very, what's the way to say it? Insulting. Because, I mean, almost all of us run into the same thing. We start getting called crazy or always the same derogatory terms. Conspiracy theorist, tinfoil hat, just all these cooked up, well-programmed terms. And it's like, oh, okay, so I'm those things for questioning something that obviously needs to be questioned, for pointing out something that continues to happen coincidentally. So, again, we're running into the same thing. And the reality is, almost all of us, we've come up in the exact same system. We're living in this system. We're going to the same schools. We're getting the same information. Some people are choosing to really believe in it and invest in it, and others are not. And essentially, those of us who don't believe in the system and point out what's wrong with it, we keep running into the same problems. with those who you can call believers. Believers in the American dream or whatever it is. Believers in the sports game, the political process. So, okay, just understand that's why it's happening. It's a powerful human psychology thing. And the story I just told about, the man from the other day, I'm sure a lot of you have a similar story. Or you've just seen when you say something to somebody and that look changes in their eyes and you just realize you've crossed like their mental threshold or where their line is in the sand in their mind. For the guy I was talking to the other day, totally interested until he found out that, Donald Trump could be part of this, because he has so much belief in Donald Trump. And, the other week when I was in Spokane and I went to the Trump rally on Division Street, and it was the Division on Division, I tried to give a guy a book who listened for a while. And again, I'm just offering him a free book. I said, because I thought he was into it. And then when I tried to give him the book, he goes, "I don't want your propaganda." And I didn't realize that he was upset. I thought he was listening. And I said, I said, "I thought you were following along with what I was saying." Because you can read the book and see that it's not propaganda. You can back up everything that's in here. He's like, "Oh, I don't want it." He's like, "I believe in Trump." And I was like, "Oh, well, I guess that's not a surprise at the Trump rally. But man, if he was listening to the things that I told him, and it seemed like he was, there was reason to go on and say, you know what, I'll look into that and see. Because, okay, maybe I'm wrong about Trump. That's what people should do. But again, his belief was just so much in there. And anyway, I think that's enough to say on cognitive dissonance. But the next subject, why do so few people care about the truth? Again, I think it's about the system we live in. Because people in this system, it's like you do something to be rewarded. That's kind of how the school system works. That's kind of how the job system works. You do this to get the pay. You do this to get the grade. You do this to move on. So it's do something if you get rewarded within the system. And the thing about truth in this system is there is absolutely no reward for it. This is a system that runs on lies and misinformation and darkness and propaganda and controlling people's heads by filling it constantly with propaganda. And if you point out these things, again, that cognitive dissonance piece comes in, but also there's just literally no incentive to be truthful. People are operating within a certain way of behaving. Do something to get rewarded. Do something to get pleasure. You're not getting much pleasure. Well, you can get a lot of pleasure from the truth. The truth sets a lot of people free, but all of us know the trade-off. It's nice to be in the know, but at the same time, it can also be very isolating and frustrating dealing with everybody else because they have all this cognitive dissonance, and so often they're rude to you just for trying to share information and show people what you know to be going on that really everyone else deserves to know. Because again, just like right now, we have a massive agenda being waged against us that is not to our benefit. It is just to give the people in power greater control over us. And, but again, the truth, you get mostly the opposite of reward. You get punishment from society. There's also some danger to it. That's kind of what they laid down in the 60s, the great truth tellers, the leaders in society assassinated. So there's also this psychological component. And I think that's what my dad learned. My dad, he always... He speaks exactly to those things. He's like, Kennedy was speaking out, and what happened to him. So, again, people not caring about the truth so much because there's no reward, there's some danger, chance of being ridiculed, being made an outcast. So, essentially, it's just a hard thing to do in our society when you really start to look at it. And a lot of us are the living examples. I started to share about this research in 2013. And again, my original Facebook post, I do a lot of, when I first learned about gematria, I had a notebook. I didn't know about any gematria calculators. I wrote everything out by hand. And I was looking for meaning in this subject, and it didn't take long to find it. But again, I just write out, a Facebook post. My original posts online about gematria were on Facebook, and I'd write, do you guys think this is interesting? There's this thing called gematria, A's 1, B's 2, C's 3, up to Z, the 26 letters, 26. And all of these words, if you just add them up using the alphabetic order, all equal 74. And I'd write out like English, gematria, Jesus, Messiah, cross, gospel, parables. Just like I show all the time now. And I'd say, it's this spiritual practice. Do you think this is interesting? And I mean, if somebody else posted that and I read it, I'd be like, whoa, I got to look into that. That is weird. But what I got back was, out of the 200 and some Facebook friends I had at the time, 2 people liked it, and they both happen to be women, and a ton of people really didn't like it again. And people reached out to me who I hadn't talked to in a while and asked if something was wrong with me. It's like, and again, I was just like, oh my God. People are treating me like I'm crazy because I'm asking if this pattern of all these words equaling 74 is a coincidence. And again, you just have to realize the reality of the situation. Here, let me just put it on the screen for the visual for people who are new here. Just showing things exactly like this. Because when I first started, all I knew was pretty much simple English gematria and the alphabetic order of the rules of numerology. And I wrote this stuff out by hand. But English, gematria, gospel, parables, Messiah, cross, Jesus. Again, all 74. And then after everyone would respond that I was crazy, I was like, look, I wrote out all 50 states and only one summed to 74, and it was Oregon, the 33rd state. And then people would think I was even crazier. But I was like, don't you guys think that's weird? Jesus on the cross at 33. Oregon, the 33rd state, the only state that equals 74, this nation's birthday, 7-4. Then I'd try to persuade them some more. I'd be like, holiday is 74. Don't you guys think that's interesting? Our nation's birthday is 7-4. Then they'd think I'd be even more crazy because I'd be like, there's this other cipher where if you write out the alphabetic order with the rules of numerology, Independence Day is 74. And again, a lot of people responding back just insulting, just like treating me like I'm absolutely nuts because I'm asking if people think this is interesting. Not only do they not think it's interesting, they just think I'm absolutely crazy. Multiple people arrive at the same conclusion that have I gone schizophrenic. It's just like, wow. And this happened to me after 9/11 too. When I questioned 9/11, people accused me of being schizophrenic. It's like, wow, questioning what looks like an obvious lie is evidence of mental illness and schizophrenia? God, I've never been accused of mental illness in my life until I questioned the way those towers come down. But all of a sudden, so many Americans are just psychological doctors, and they know that me questioning that means I'm crazy or a schizophrenic. And it was the same thing with this. People saying, but honestly, am I crazy for asking people, does this seem interesting that all of these words add up to this? And gematria is the practice of coding numbers into words? So, again, cognitive dissonance. A lot of people want to believe that, their government is just so great, cares about them so much. The reason they put the chemicals in the waters to keep them safe, the reason they make them go to school for 13 years is because they want them to be smart and successful, have the pursuit of happiness, as they make them get up way too early in the morning to sit in a room for way too long each day, and then if 20 years later, all of a sudden they've just developed a pharmaceutical for the people who can't sit right in their chairs. Now it just makes them a little more comatose because those people have ADHD. And again, there are a lot of people that have attention deficit problems, but for many years they've been thinking there's something wrong with kids that can't sit there in the chair for 6 to 8 hours a day, as if that's what a person's supposed to be doing at that age, just sitting in a chair, learning about Christopher Columbus discovering a land where people already are. But yeah, these are the reasons we run into the same obstacles and have the same experience. Almost everyone is believing in the system. They think the system is, the work of human progress. And it is. It absolutely is. But what they're not questioning is if this progress in the way this system's been built was built really to make people flourish and have the pursuit of happiness and the highest quality life, or if it was built this way to serve the interests of the builders of the system. And obviously, those of us who are awake have no doubt what the correct answer is to that question. But there's so many people, they just want to believe in the system. And that's what it comes down to. And they're not going to let anything interfere with their belief in the system, because then they feel less comfortable about life. And they don't want to feel less comfortable. They want to feel like they're in charge. They know exactly how the world works. There's no conspiracies out there, clearly. There's no such thing as a conspiracy. Never before in the history of humanity have two or more people collaborated to, take advantage of another group of people, which is the definition of a conspiracy. Never before has that happened. But they want to have this belief system because it's just a lot easier. And I always knew after 9/11, people would always say to me who did get it, they'd say, Zach, you're right about some things, but trust me, this world's never going to change. There's nothing else we can do about it, so it's better to just, enjoy our time and not think about these things. And then that's the other problem. Because what I was saying back then is I was saying, well, enjoy our time, not worry about things that are beyond I was saying that, eventually there's going to be a day where because we had that mentality, there's going to be some real serious consequences. And we're starting to see that right now in a real big way and right on cue. Because again, we know about the 19-year cycles. Because we got this information that most people just want to dismiss. Because again, it becomes into conflict with their worldview. So, I'll take calls for a little bit here. I got to be off in, looks like 20-some minutes. But I'll take a few calls. But I'd rather, if you're going to call in tonight, call in about if you got a good cognitive dissonance story, like the one I told earlier, about telling the man about Event 201, and he was all into it, and the Jesuits, and he wanted to know more, and he's like, I don't like those guys. But as soon as I told him about his guy Donald Trump being in the Jesuit fraternity, total shutdown. So, cognitive dissonance, a very powerful thing. All right, let's go out to Ohio. Caller?
Hey, Zach.
Hello?
What's up, man? Hey, can you hear me, Zach?
Your volume's not real loud, but I hear you.
Okay, is it any better right now?
No.
Damn it, man. Alright, I knew I was listening to, I was just watching the live stream about cognitive dissonance and, why so many people get upset, and the story you told about the guy, the Trump supporter, that's literally, I think we're at the point right now in society where like you said, you can look into people's eyes and see that you cross their little mental line. Like, they turn angry, hateful. They start calling you names. Like you said, I've never been questioned for being mentally ill, but ever in my life. But once you say something that's against the narrative, the mainstream narrative, that's when all hell breaks loose. Literally, this shit has broken up. This COVID-19 fucking convid pandemic, sorry for the cussing, has literally caused rife between my family, my friends. I mean, like, best friends, dude. People that, I would do anything for. And I think that's part of the agenda, too, is they literally just want to cause so much, chaos.
Those are their mottos. Divide and conquer and order out of chaos. And you see how they do it so well with just the things that they feed us in the mainstream. Everything, when you just start to look at it, just like even in your own state, if you go to college, you either go to this school or this school, and then you have the big rivalry game each year, and you're supposed to get all emotionally invested in that, and your college campus probably promotes it the most. You just realize that they, just on so many levels, it's just all about it.
I live in Ohio, dude, so absolutely, Ohio versus Michigan, dude, and it's like, this stuff is so insane. My brother and sister, they attend the university and stuff, and they love me to death, but I think I am batshit crazy when I talk to them about the real truth. And the real truth is Donald Trump is not your Messiah. Joe Biden is not your Messiah. If voting mattered, we wouldn't be allowed to do it, would we, Zach?
We would not see that's the difference in how they learned how to rule the world. Over the years, it's obvious that they realize it's like rather than just like constantly conquering people and policing them super hard, it's like you have to get them to just buy into your system,
bow
trick
down.
them,
You have to get them to bow down.
or make
You
them
have to
want to
get them to bow
participate
down
in
to
it.
the agenda.
Make them trick them into thinking that participating in their system is the good thing to do.
Exactly. That even sounds better. You trick them into participating in it, and if you can trick them into participating in it, you've got them by the freaking short and curlies. Seriously. And it's like, I literally, I can't believe people are so stupid. I'm sorry for using that word, but it's just like, I'm at a point now where I literally think that probably 95% of America just thinks that, okay, Fox News, MSLSD, all of that shit, CNN.
I can tell you, Raj, Brian, because Brian's always saying all the acronyms a false way. It's not MSLSD. That's what that idiot always says. It's MSNBC, but yeah.
Oh, no, I know. I was just being satirical, but yeah, I know Brian says that sometimes for sure. But, you know what I'm saying? It's just crazy how my whole point was, I'm with you 100%, dude. I appreciate, everything you do, dude. All this stuff can't be a coincidence. Like, this is the year, like you said a trillion times, of 56 and 201. Freaking 102, mirrored. It's just, all this stuff is shoved in our face. Like, I've been watching all these movies, everything lately. You can just see, if you just look, in the most subtle ways, they'll have a 38 or a 308 will be the address on the house of the person that gets whacked in the movie, or the apartment number. Or 56, will pop up, and it's just like you said, coronavirus 56, mind control 56, toilet paper 56, all this stuff. It's just like, does anyone really I think it's too uncomfortable for their brains, where we get into the cognitive dissonance. I think it's too uncomfortable for them to accept the truth.
Yeah. All right, friend, I appreciate the call. I'm going to let somebody else get in, but thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Zach.
All right, take care, man. See you.
Call from.
Caller.
Hello.
Hey.
I'm like, I got a question about Christianity and Jesus and religion. What do you think about all that? Do you think that's real?
Do I think you're asking me? Do I think the spiritual belief of Christianity, if it's real, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Well, I would say I don't think it's real. I'd say it's an ancient story that's been told many times. And is it possible it's real? I don't discount that it's possible it's real, but I personally don't think that the story is real. I don't think God's master plan would be to send his son to earth to die for man's sins. It just seems like out of all the things God could do, why would that be it? That doesn't make sense to me. That just seems like something to believe in. So
yeah, I think a lot of people have been brought up that way to just believe in it, and they really don't question if it's the right thing, to be honest.
Well, I noticed that as a child. I noticed that if you were born in this religion, that was your religion. If you were born in this religion, that was your religion. So I was like, this is just what you're born into. All these people think they're right, too, so they can't all be right. Just seems like people believe in whatever they're told as a kid. And that's exactly what it is. And that's why there's so much done in our society at a young age. They get you in school at age 5, maybe 6 if you're lucky. They got the religion on you. They got the school on you. So you're getting told all this stuff from a very young age. And I think if you don't question as a child, you probably end up being the people that are, suffering from this cognitive dissonance and can't see the forest from the trees. I'm someone who's always questioned things from a young age, so.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right. You have a good night.
From.
Caller.
Hey, Zach. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, man?
Not too much, man. Not too much. I got something quick for you, man. In TMZ today, they said news about a legendary country singer, Jeff Walker, dead at 78. I'm not sure if you heard of that.
I meant to look this up. Somebody else tipped me off to this today too. So he did the
Yeah,
Mr.
man.
Bojangles song.
Yeah, exactly. So it said in the article, it said Mr. Bojangles, which he recorded in 1968. And I just thought that was crazy because obviously your book, 1968, when coronavirus was coined and all that. So
I'll look more into that
definitely
story.
fitting. Most definitely, man. And yeah, man, I just want to say one thing because obviously on the topic of cognitive dissonance and just telling people, just this obviously your college, but there too, obviously you know what it is. But, my dad says the same shit, honestly. He's interested when I tell him about it, but, the first thing he tells me is like, you don't want to go around, talking to people about this as if I'm just going to, walk up to randoms and blah, 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 and just kind of yap off. And it's kind of like you guys are just saying, like it really does strike some weird nerve where you talk about it and out of nowhere they just tune out. And it's just, like you said, you hit something that didn't register with them or didn't align with their views. And despite not even being overly critical about it, you're just explaining something. And they're looking at you, it's crazy, man. Like, I've had battles, just like the other guy said, you're talking to your homies and stuff, and you're trying to just educate, and they don't take it serious, or it's overlooked, or it's too good to be true. I had a buddy tell me, you have to predict something. You predict it for me, and then I'll believe it. And I'm saying, why is it that only a prediction is what you need when I'm showing you concrete evidence from the day of or the day before, how a name of a dead singer aligns with the date of his death, from the span of his birthday to a date of his death, it has the same number as the age. You know what I mean?
Right. I do know what you mean. Yeah, and I know, again, it's just that thing. It's like if they don't want to believe that anything nefarious is going on in the world, then they're just going to say that, they're just going to ignore it. So
100%, man, 100%, trying to, my mom, obviously, I love my mom, but I'm telling her some interesting stuff that she knows about, like a singer she knows about. And, it's interesting, and 30 seconds later, it's just, like you said, it's just crazy, man. You see her eyes roll over, and you're just like you said at the start of this live, where you're talking to that guy and he looks at his phone. He's just out. And it's just like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Is it worth telling people sometimes? Sometimes, you just got to pick your battles. See it like sales,
Well, the thing is, it's like, it's okay to try with somebody, but then if they're just not that into it, then just move on to the next person. And I guess for some people, they only have so many people in their lives really to talk to. But again, the thing is, there's plenty of people in the world who are awake. It's not nearly there's plenty of people in the world who are awake. If those of us who are awake started working together and cooperating and finding each other in the communities and going out and doing things, we could still do something with the people there are. And again, it's like we have to change the cultural programming because it is mind control. Like most people are under this same train of thought. Like they believe the same way, they react the same way to information. It's why so many of us have the exact same interaction with people no matter where we are in the world. It's like the same things going on worldwide. If those of us who see what's wrong were showing like a way to work together and create like something that inspired people and made them want to be a part of it, then maybe more people be like, you know what? These people over here who are thinking a different way, they're also doing something cool now. So that's why
those...
Go ahead.
I 100% agree. And, I just want to say one thing. Real quick, I work as like a sales rep. So I'm selling phones, blah, blah, blah. I'm talking to a lot of people. And, I work in a pretty big facility, and I get to mingle with others. And this one guy I always chat with at work, he's very interested, like genuinely interested. And I'm usually telling this, just rambling on to my buddy who I actually work with. This guy works at another place, and, we just check up on him, go for a smoke or something. And it's just crazy how I literally got to see every day I'm with them just outside for a break or something. I get to see the two differences of someone who's actually genuinely interested and someone who, is just, the total opposite. And it's just like, what is it that I'm not getting or registering with that other guy that it is with this guy, And I guess it's like you said something about hermeticism and not everybody's meant to get it. I'm kind of paraphrasing, but it's mind-blowing, man. It's the stuff that you showed us is real, man. It's fucking real. For anybody who doubts this shit, I've done this on local news in my own fucking town.
And this shit it's just weird. It's weird. I don't know, maybe a few odd instances or organic, but like, nah, man, like this, once you pointed out the cryptic numbers and what there is to really focus on, the pattern's pretty straightforward. And I mean, it's not rocket science for people, but it does take an open mind for anybody who's really interested. I mean, you really, a lot of us, I feel, who listen to your stuff, man, I know I'm kind of ranting, but real quick, a lot of us who listen to your stuff, man, like, I listened to a whole bunch of YouTubers beforehand speaking on truth, truth, quote unquote. And it's funny, you even mentioned a guy, his name's like the scariest movie ever or something. And I remember I used to just like be working from home and during the COVID stuff, and I would kind of just play his stuff in the background. And then suddenly you popped up in my suggestion, some Bill Gates video, and I clicked it, and it was like, man, what the fuck have I been wasting my time with? But at the same time, that previous stuff that I watched allowed me to open my mind to then, once I hear a guy like you who's spitting it in a different way, a very different way than any of us have ever probably heard, it was just like, oh, okay. Like, I know where I'm going to try to put my focus in. And again, once you buy your book, man, like, this ain't no promotion, man. I'm just saying for people out there, man, it's just real. It's changed my life. Like, every day I look at the news, I look at the calendar, I see the numbers that line up, and I'm telling my mom, like, before I cut out for work, and I'm just like, yo, expect this to be on the news. Like the other day when the Pope endorsed the same-sex couples, I saw the date. It was all Catholic numbers. And I was like, oh, come on, like 71's everywhere. It's simple. I told my mom, and like 3 hours later, I'm like, look, I sent it an article. She's like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? So anyways, man, that's it. That's all I got to say.
All right.
And,
appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you, man.
All
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, take care.
Call from.
Caller?
Hey, brother, Jack Talcott over in Spokane.
Hey, man, thanks for coming out when we were in Spokane.
Hey, thanks for being out. Hey, I saw you jump on with this cognitive dissonance.
Mm-hmm.
This is a topic that's up my alley. It's a symptom of our ego.
Sure.
And the ego is a symptom of the conditioning and programming from our society. You're spot on. It's a result of rewards and punishments that we subject our children to, and blind obedience to authority, and the conditioning of allegiance to the state. It's all nonsense. Our society is literally insane with dishonesty. And the dishonesty is a choice. It's a symptom of our egos. So the way that we can cure our society, fix our planet, fix this nation, is we've got to convince those who are currently in positions in our federal government, they need to take the steps of their positions to eliminate legal corporate and government secrets. This legalized secrets, man, that's what conspirators are, right? People who keep secrets.
Indeed.
The greatest conspirators have been right in front of our eyes, the United States federal government and our United States corporate laws.
So, Jack, the one question I have to ask is, do you think if we put enough pressure on our politicians, they would do the right thing? Or do you think something else needs to be done, like a revolution?
I hold faith that we can make it work. I mean, I've been unable on my own, but yesterday I followed up on my request for a meeting with Senator Murray. I spoke with one of the aides for Kathy McMorris. You know, I swear to God that I was created to do this. I'm a union leader. I'm pro-labor and anti-jobs. We work too friggin' hard. All we got to do is convince these wealthy billionaires to start sharing. And if we eliminate secrets, then we can have free education for our children. And without the real secrets, the immorality of our banking system, We can eliminate these immoral debts, take the power away from the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and the Sacklers and the Bezos and the Gates and the Trump. We need to remind our citizens in government that they are equal to us. And I swear to God, I'm ready for this. I believe if we explain these things on the record, if citizens can get in front of the federal government and the president on the record and explain that we demand the elimination of secrets for the purposes of sanity. This pandemic, man, no one knows what's going on because everyone's lying. We've got human beings on this planet right now that can produce free energy, but we've got to get past the corporate control, the worship of money. And so the only way we're going to disassemble the hierarchy that creates the selfishness and greed of human ego is to convince those people in power to start getting rid of the power. I don't know if it's going to take a revolution, but you know what?
That's the thing, though. The people who concentrated that power and helped build the government the way it is to protect them, they're not going to want to give that up.
Even as insane as I believe Donald Trump is, I believe he is an egotistical maniac, but I truly hold hope that he's got the spirit of love and compassion within him. So, what better person for that job? He's already earned us warm conversations with North Korea and with China, with Saudi, with all these real atrocious nations. He's built relationships for us, so I think God put him in that position for us. So now we just got to convince Donald Trump to use the position he has been provided with the support of the American citizens so that we can have peace on the world. Because if we eliminate secrets, we share best practices and technologies. We create open source knowledge to create public oversight against the corruption of AI. We can outgrow the need of money. It's a tool. It's something we imagined. If we changed from a profit and debt system to a receive what is fair, share all that you can, our elderly can enjoy the rest of their lives. They can share their wisdom with our children. Our children can be free to learn whatever they want. I don't know, man. I know it's utopia, and I know it's crazy, but I really believe this is the time, and I really believe this is the solution.
Sure.
I'm pursuing it.
Sure. I mean, it sounds right. It's just the people who are in control of things, they're opposed to all of this. They don't, they want to control. That's their thing. So they're not going to give up their control unless they're removed from power.
They can go down in history as literally being leaders in changing the history of the future of humanity. So, even the most egotistical, you can convince them of the glory, I hold faith in that. But that's, seriously, I'm pursuing it, my efforts, and that's what I told McMorris Rogers yesterday. I want to speak to both Donald Trump and the other guy there that are the supposed candidates for us. They're both insane. They should both be in prison.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I hear you. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks, Jack.
Thank you. Love you, brother.
All right.
Bye.
All right. Take care, man. See you.
Call from
Caller? Uh-oh. Disconnected. I don't know why. Well, he's got nice ideas, but again, the people who control the world, they believe on secrets and deception and control and tyranny and war and killing and doing whatever it takes to remain on top. And if you go to the door of the face of evil and you say, hey, all this evil is not good for the world, we can do it a better way, I don't think they care about that. These are the same people that have been burying better ways for a long time because it goes against their control and power. So I think you got to be realistic about things. Caller?
Hello, how you doing, Zach? My name is Herschel.
Oh, hold on. I messed up the volume. There we go. Say that again, please.
I said, hey, how are you doing, Herschel?
Hey, man.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to talk about that. So, I would say as far as cognitive dissonance, I kind of realized that probably about 2 years ago, and I was actually in my journey when I was in Christianity, interesting enough, because of that last caller. And I just realized how when I would ask questions about stuff and get deep onto things, people would just kind of look like, I'm not worried about that. And I'd be like, why are you not worried about that? Like, this is the things that come in the Bible. Why am I the only one worried about this? Like, why am I the only one worried about trying to do what is said in here?
Uh-oh.
Realize, yeah, people aren't really interested in the truth, you know. I think that the truth sound good, you know. It may make people feel baby good if they get, like, you know, they hit the little back of the neck with the adrenaline rush when they hear something that's deep. But people don't want the journey. They don't want the pain that comes in the realization of things that everything in your life has been a lie, and now you have to go find the truth. People don't want that, you know. It's just like X-Men Future's Past when he was like, I don't want your future. That's kind of what it's like. People, they don't want that, and I don't think society's ever kind of want that. That's why it's so easy to pump drugs and gladiator sports and stuff like that, because, you know, many are called, many are called, few are chosen. And actually, even fewer actually want to go on that route. So I can understand it. Even when, you know, I stopped trying to tell friends and family a long time ago. I was just like, no, there's no point. Like, they're gone. And they will change, but there has to be, human beings, we only learn through repetition, trauma, and, you know, it just those two things. So I feel like when people are tired of being sick, then they'll heal themselves.
Yeah, you're right about that. And trauma is the thing that wakes up a lot of people. So
basically, and actually, I had a question for you. I have been watching videos from here and here, but if you had to guess it, and I'm just asking because I also look on, you know, different spiritual stuff and different. I look at probably everything, and nobody has been able to predict this. But I'm curious, who do you feel wins between Trump and Biden very quickly, and then you go away? Because I know you're tired of talking about that probably.
Well, again, the next president's the 46th, and the election's exactly 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, and Catholic equals 46, and there's 46 books in the Catholic Old Testament, and Biden would become the second Catholic president. The first was JFK, who was killed at age 46, and Beau Biden died at 46, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg died 46 days before the election, and I told people to watch the Thursday night football game because I said it'd be rigged with the election. And I said, watch for the number 46 in that game. Couldn't have been any more 46. The Giants, because the football game the night of the last debate was New York and Pennsylvania, just like Joe Biden and Trump from Pennsylvania and New York. They always sync this stuff up together, the sports and the news. But the Giants' first drive was stopped at the 46-yard line, and the announcer was sure to announce that the drive ended at the 46-yard line. And the final play of the game was with 46 seconds on the clock, and the guy who we did a live decode before the game talking about all this stuff, the election and the thing, but we were focused on this guy Boston Scott, the 201st pick of the draft. It ended up being him who made the winning touchdown catch, getting his 46th receiving yards on a play that began with 46 seconds. And So anyway, I think it's probably Biden that's going in there. The Giants fell to 1-6. Biden will become the 16th Democratic president. His convention began on the day leaving 136 days left in the year, the 16th triangular number. So I think it's the order out of chaos thing. The chaos has happened. Now the order will come next, and the Democrats are more in line with the type of party that'll bring about the agenda that they want, from the climate change stuff to the mask laws and all that. So
Universal base income, the Internet of Things. Yeah, and it's going to be so easy because people are such. You know what? Hey, it is. It is what it is. Yeah, all I gotta say is, for them, it's too easy. I like it. Just me as a person. I don't know why people are just. It's just too easy. Like, why is it so easy for people to control your mind? Like, the mind is the only thing you have. In every spiritual text, it says the mind is stronger than anything else. Yet it's so easy. So easy. And even when, to go off of the last guy's point, even when there's always a point where you're talking to people and they're starting to think and their mind kicks it back out as if it's a software. Like, you'll say something to somebody and they'll think and then they'll look at you. And I know everybody, if you've ever talked to somebody and tried to, I guess, enlighten or form, they look at you with that look like, hey, this guy's on to something, but I'm not going this far. This is where I leave this ship. I've sailed far enough.
yeah, that's how a lot of people are. So,
but yeah, that's all I want to say. Thank you so much, Zachary. And I've actually tried to buy your book, and I'll be doing that next week. I guess I'll have to go through your email and go from there. So thank you so much.
all right, appreciate it, man. You have a good night. All right, see you. All right, True Seekers, I'm going to leave it there. Sweet lady is home. So I'm going to go say hi to Sweet Lady. But appreciate all of you. And again, just remember, you got everybody else shutting down and you're trying to tell them stuff. You're not alone. So it's a common problem. We'll leave it there, True Seeker. Till next time.